to make that happen within the context of Agile methodologies, I'm thrilled with that and committed to help our clients work towards that. But I'm also want to be honest and realistic about what that's going to take and what the challenges are, and hope that those of you who have heard this talk will go forward with that outlook, that if we figure out how to work together to resolve these challenges, we can. If on either side of the relationship, the test side, we say that the challenges are irresolvable and we should just go back to waterfall because Agile doesn't work, or on the Agile side of the relationship, we say those professional testers are an impediment to getting Agile going, so we need to get rid of the professional testers. That kind of adversarial approach will not work. So I think the main thing here is that we remain engaged as a professional testing community with the advocates of Agile methodologies and looking for ways to resolve these challenges. Okay, well, that concludes the presentation. I'll leave the little RBCS advertisement up here for you to look at while we go through and do a little Q&A. Now, if you have questions, please go ahead and submit them via the chat mechanism. You should be able to do that either via chat or actually the questions box is probably the best one, so go ahead and put them there. This first question is one that I got via email prior to this webinar. I want to bring this up because this is important. The question was, is the point of this presentation that Agile is inherently inferior to the V model or other variants of the waterfall, and that if we just practice those waterfall style models properly, we wouldn't have any testing challenges? Now, I have three answers to this. Now, first, I don't think that anyone, even the people who originally described the waterfall back in the 1970s, meant that the waterfall model or any other software development lifecycle model is going to solve all the challenges of software engineering, including testing challenges. I think it's fair to say that a good process is only part of what's required to do software engineering properly, and we need to keep that in mind. Now, second, I can't say that we, RBCS, have heard of or seen a lot of our clients or companies that actually practice the V model, at least to all degrees of detail. And you have to keep in mind that the V model implies a large number of things. Early involvement of the test teams in an approach that's designed to detect and remove defects early in the process, engagement during requirements and design reviews, any number of very intricate things are involved in actually doing the V model, and some organizations do it, but many don't. So it's hard to really contrast the ideal Agile world versus the ideal V model world because we've never seen either of them. Now, third, even for our clients that do practice the V model well, and there are some. I mean, I say that I've never seen anyone do it perfectly. It's not to say that we don't see some do it well, but even the ones that do it very well certainly don't avoid all testing challenges. And they often mention a number of testing challenges to us during consulting work and training work that have been brought up in this webinar to a greater or lesser extent. And in some cases, they have other challenges that come up for them. So, in reality, I could probably just as easily do a webinar called Waterfall and V Model Testing Challenges, and it would probably sound about as skeptical as I might have sounded to many of you today in talking about Agile. And again, as a professional tester, I'm a professional pessimist and professional skeptic. Now, the quality expert W.E. Deming once said that all models are wrong and some are useful. And to get back to what I was saying at the beginning, to the extent that a software development lifecycle model helps a team organize itself and its activities for success, then I think we can say it's a useful model. But to the extent that people misunderstand or misapply a model, or to the extent that people make a fetish of the model and disregard of practical realities of their project, then I think the elements of the model that are wrong will ultimately prevail. Now let's see, we've got a question here from Matt. What type of automation is Rex referring to, if not GUI automation? Our dev team is in charge of the unit testing. Yeah, okay, good question, Matt. I'm not saying don't do GUI automation if that's the route that you've decided to go. The thing to remember is that the graphical user interface on at least certain parts of the graphical user interface are often going to be the thing that changes. You know, that this is a big emphasis of the you know, this embracing change, and so you have to be very careful when you're creating your testing frameworks to make sure they're maintainable. There's a lot of I think good advice available out there in books and training courses on how to create maintainable graphical user interface tests. And so, you know, if you have to do that, then by all means do that. If you can automate at the command line, if there's a command line available of some sort or another, then that certainly is likely to be a lot more maintainable, or at least it's going to, when it changes in a way that doesn't undermine the tests as much. Let's put it that way. So if you can do command line interface automation, I'd say take a look at that as something to do either in addition to or instead of GUI. Question, can all attendees see my questions or just the moderators? Just the moderators. And I can see your question here, Andrew, but I don't know what, other than the question about the question, I don't know what the question is. So let's see. And another question from Keith. Can you explain what you mean by independent tester and sprint silos? Okay, those are good questions, Keith. When I say independent tester, I'm talking about somebody who reports into an organization that is not immediately part of the project team. That they are there. Their mission and role is to find defects, to manage risk, to build confidence, to assess and report on the level of quality in a way, a setting in the organization that does not create any sort of incentive problems for them. And typically the way that that's solved is by putting the testers in a separate team that reports into a level of management that's sufficiently senior to avoid the sort of crosstalk that can occur. When I say crosstalk, I mean in the sense that their defined mission, which might not be written down, but which they maybe have defined for themselves, their defined mission and what their immediate manager is rewarded or punished for doing are not aligned, such that the person managing the test manager or indeed the test manager herself or himself might be in a conflicted incentive situation, which then would reduce independence. Now, in terms of sprint silos, what I mean by a sprint silo is that hopefully all of you are familiar with the concept of siloing, or the phrase siloing, where people are working off in this group on some inward-focused kind of project or effort, and they lose track of how that relates to the broader